Welcome to another episode of In the Nude. Today we're going to talk about you and you. Let me break down what I mean. Right now, things are a lot everywhere. No matter where you stand on things, there's a lot going on. And in that, there can be a lot of chaos, dissettling that happens, and this need or desire to act, to make a difference, to make a stance, to all of those things, right? And there's a lot of beauty in all the aspects and ways you can do that. And everybody shows up in a different way and has something else to offer. But something that has to happen for there to be the biggest stance possible, for you to make the biggest difference possible, is the you. We want to take an action. We want to do something outside. We want to go out. We want to do out. We want to grasp out, because out and do is the thing that we can control, right? When you feel like you have a day off, right? There's things that you want to get done. The writing a to-do list and taking action is a lot easier than the sitting in quiet, the letting our brains be. The do is easier than the be. And in that, in our desire to have control, in our desire to have things look different, in our desire to all the things we want, there's this constant desire to grasp, to grasp and control and do things. But it is often in the do that we miss the actual thing we're going for. We bypass it. We obfuscate what we actually desire, the end goal. We're trying to get there so much that we're hustling and grinding into this path that we can't get there because we're trying. So let's break down why and how that is. And hopefully it'll all make sense. You are overlooking yourself. This journey, this desire to heal, this desire to have this world that looks better, more compassionate, more loving, the desire to create an environment. If you have kids, they'll grow up in a more beautiful world. You can't do any of those things. You can't achieve any of those things or enjoy any of those things or abide in any of those things without first the you. In order to have this life where there's peace, to have this life where you have things that you enjoy and want and like, it starts here with us, inside of ourselves. When we've been through trauma and we've been through pain, there's this dissonance, this disconnect that we have from ourselves. When we have a pain, we have a feeling that we stop there and think, why is that, right? We try to intellectualize and say that we have to have a reason. Even in our feelings, we disconnect from it. Or if you're somebody who's extremely aware of your feelings and see all of them, you have this distance from actually feeling them, but instead processing and saying, oh, it's this mind game of like, this is happening because of this, and therefore I should do this. But all of the understanding and knowledge that can exist up here means nothing if it isn't abiding within your person. If you are not taking the time to be, to feel. And often the reason we bypass those things is it feels extremely dysregulating when you've been through trauma to rest, to be. When I first started the healing process, the idea of sitting actively made my skin crawl. I would actively get triggered into fight or flight when trying to sit there and get calm, like the calm and the peace that people talked about. When I sat in it, it would actively do the antithesis. And when we are in the baby steps, in the beginning portion of trying to like heal ourselves, regulation can't look like meditation for most. Because meditation or sitting in calm and quiet is actively triggering because it's so distant from the norm that we have. We have this disconnect from ourselves, this disembodiment, this escape into productivity, this escape into watching or reading or scrolling, or I view it like this. I like to escape myself and do and not do. My default is to run away from myself because I know how to do a thing. I know how to read. I know how to watch something. I know how to have a project or dive into work. I know how to get busy and do household stuff. The doing is an escape often. And when we do that, we're pulling away from ourselves. We're abandoning ourselves. And it's because it's the only thing we've known. We had so many other people abandon us. We just learned the habit and created it within ourselves. But for this world to look different, for our world to look different, for us to have these heals, it starts with coming back to ourselves. And part of the reason that we don't want to come back to ourselves, for those who have lived through trauma, is we don't feel worthy of the attention, even from ourselves. We don't feel worthy of the love and the care. We want to have it. We know that we want to have it, but there's this disconnect, we've taken other people's actions and we've decided those actions speak to our worth. And there's plenty of other episodes where I've talked about worth is not something that's negotiable. It's not something that what you do affects it. And if you need more of that, feel free and go back and listen to those. But today is talking about refining you in it. So we're going to do a small exercise and then we're going to get into something that I think will help empower you and embolden you to know how strong you already are, to know your worth because you can tangibly see it for yourself. So I want you to take a second and I want you to think about the things you lived through as a kid. You don't have to go fast or you don't have to go slow. You can go at any pace you want to, just skipping through some of the things you have survived. The pains, the cuts, the mars, the disconnect, the distance. You've survived them. You come on the other side of them. In your teenage years, young adult, adulthood. All of these things you're on the other side of, and you are breathing. And not only are you breathing, I want you to think about how you have walked into this world. You are looking for more. You have this passion, this desire, this love. You try to see the wonder. You try to find the joy. You try to smile at the stranger to add joy to their day. Despite all of that past that you have to walk through, all those cuts and mars, they are not your ruins. They are the runes of power. You have it marking your body, the sheer majestic strength that you have. Each scar that has been marked is an emphasis of what the power you have because you are on the other side of it. Because you not only are on the other side of it, but you are still putting one foot in front of the other and not just looking at your feet and barely surviving. You are trying to have more than survival. That is power. You forget yourself. You forget that power. You forget who you are because you're always with you. It feels ordinary to you. Your strengths, the things that you're good at, that it comes so easily, like breathing, that you just kind of dismiss them because they're all that you've known, and therefore for you it's not something magical, but it is. You are magical. You are mythical. Do you know the number of people who couldn't have done that? Who couldn't come up today and observe and see a silly weed and see it for the beauty of the flower it still represents? Or see the triumph of them overcoming and cutting through concrete, or looking and seeing the clouds and picking out the little images you see there, and having a quick smile or wonder at a dog that you see sitting in a car laughing at themselves, or walking in a park and making eye contact and spreading a little bit of joy to a small child as you walk by. You are powerful. I read something today that I wanted to share. I've read this book multiple times, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. But there's this one passage that hit me really hard today, and I wanted to share with you. It's in the 13th Tao verse, but it's this guy's construction of telling you how it can apply to your life. And it says, every passionate thought you have regarding how you want to conduct your life is evidence you're in harmony with your unique nature. Your fervent belief is all you need. I'm going to read it again because I needed it again. Every passionate thought you have regarding how you want to conduct your life is evidence that you are in harmony with your own unique nature. Your fervent belief is all you need. We often, coming out of trauma, can feel like we can't trust ourselves. Feel like we're not enough, feel like there's this disconnect because we abandoned ourselves. And on top of that, often we've been made to feel crazy, all of this, and it can feel this like floating amalgamous where you're trying to get your feet on the ground, but you can't quite. But I know that you have these desires, these pictures of how and what you know that you're meant to be, how to love other people, what your life will look like, how you make an impact, whether that is in this rescuing of animals and caring for those who can't care for themselves. Or if that is in, you have this voice that has this melody, this song to share the feelings and all that you've been through, and you just so desperately want to get it out of you. There's so many avenues that each one of you have for this passion you have, but you have it. You have this, like, this more, this drive, this craving. That dire passion, that passionate thought you have regarding how you want to conduct your life is evidence you're already in harmony with your own nature. Your fervent belief is all that you need. The desire is telling you that you are connected. You do have feet on the ground. You may not believe it yet, and you're trying to find your feet. We're like, when we're healing, we're like toddlers learning how to walk, okay? We're learning how to trust ourselves, but that desire is evidence of the fact that you do have some grounding. That is a truth. That is a fervent reality within you. That is a drive that is given, that is there. It is metabolized within you, and it will come. It will be. You don't need to worry about the people around you, comparing and contrasting where they are in the journey and where you haven't gotten, or if you're better than. The comparison is a lost game that confuses and distracts. That passion, that is an anchor in the best anchor way. It is a harness. It is a grounding. It is a feet in the bottom of the river, feeling the flow and the power of the water as it washes by you. That is your grounding. We don't have to worry about the hows. We aren't going to be able to control the tomorrows. The tomorrows there, it's going to come here. All theirs come here. All we have to be is here right now. In this moment, do something small to be with yourself. Ask yourself, do I want to walk outside right now? Go with, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Do something that you bodily respond to as something that you desire, you need, you know. Just sit with yourself. Give yourself 90 seconds, 120 seconds to see if there's something that your body is craving and lean into it. These small, tiny choices, these silly, small choices of listening to our needs help us connect more to our person. The more we are connected to our person, the more grounded we are. The more grounded we are, the better we have the capability of giving ourselves compassion, of being aware of what's going on, being able with compassion and being aware of what's going on to accept what is. And it is only through the acceptance, radical acceptance of what is, that we can do something with it, that we can go towards the life that we want. Your fervent passion is your reminder every time when you feel like you don't know, when you feel like you're flailing, that fervent, like, oh, it's deep in you. You know, you may not even know how it looks, but you know that feeling of more. That is a grounding truth. That's real. We can get lost in a lot of the chaos, but how we harness truth, how we get less chaos, is by residing within ourselves, founding and grounding, starting with compassion here, starting with peace and care here. The ability to have the life and the world that you want starts with community, but you cannot offer community to another without first knowing how to give yourself that community. You're restricted and bound at the level you're able to love another person. Because in the same way that when somebody offers a judgment outward, it's because there's a judgment inward. When somebody is trying to punch someone down, it's because they feel low, and the only way they can feel better is if they're on top of someone else. These are these restrictions, these thought processes, these wounds that we've lived through And we're in this process of facing them. We're in this process of looking in the mirror. And you are a powerhouse to make that choice. Despite everything, you come up to that mirror and you look. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. But you keep walking up to that mirror. Ground yourself. I cannot wait to see what you do with that power.